Welcome back to the Roundtable, I'm Nemo, and in news that shocked absolutely nobody, Big Mouth is in yet another controversy. That's right, the animated show about the sex life of pubescent middle schoolers is actually in some hot water right now. I'm just as shocked as you. The world has turned upside down. Big Mouth has been very controversial in the past, and in their third season, I think they're just trying to push the envelope to see how far they can go. They have 2 more seasons after this, so I can't imagine what they're gonna do, but nonetheless, people are starting to respond to what's being put in the show, and it's not good. If you've been on Twitter at all recently, you might have seen this clip, and that's because Big Mouth tried to explain the difference between pansexuality and bisexuality, and they did it horribly wrong. Essentially, it centers around Ali Wong voicing a new student character that enters their class, and when she's asked to introduce herself, she mentions that she's pansexual, to the confusion of the class. She starts to explain the difference, which I'm not going to say verbatim exactly what they said, so I'll just show a few clips to kind of sum up the whole piece.
Pansexual means I'm into boys, girls, and everyone in between.
I thought that was bisexual.
No. Being pansexual means my sexual preference isn't limited by gender identity.
They then try to use this weird food taco burrito metaphor that just does not work.
But I'm saying I like tacos and burritos, and I could be into a taco that was born a burrito, sure, okay, or a burrito that's transitioning into a taco, comprende?
So the issue here is that this clip and the way they explained it is not entirely accurate. Their biggest flaw in particular being how they handled the idea of pansexuals and bisexuals dating people who are transgender, throwing in all these common misconceptions and stuff that ultimately is not true, and that's why people got upset. So after this clip aired, and it went pretty viral on Twitter, so after this is basically split into 2 camps. People that were talking about how disgusting this was, how inappropriate this was, how horrible this was, and another camp of people basically being like, it's just a cartoon, don't get so offended, what's so incorrect about this? So needless to say, this clip was extremely divisive. And whether or not you think a cartoon is allowed to be offensive, or people get too offended over stuff, it's important to realize that the information they gave in this clip is incorrect. And the way they executed it, personally, is really stupid. The cockiness of her character, like the whole delivery, but then again, you have to remember and take it with a grain of salt and realize that this is an animated comedy show, and it's not going to be some solid sex education, which is the real problem that it was in a weird way trying to be. The last place Big Mouth has in this world is trying to teach anybody anything. It should just sit in its place as entertainment. The last thing it's meant to do is to teach kids about how sexuality works, and if it's trying, it's doing a horrible job, and it should quit now. Personally, I feel like Big Mouth should just stick to the jokes and all the weird topics that it covers, but it should definitely not try to teach sexuality, unless you have writers who know what they're talking about. In this situation, they didn't. The biggest thing to wrap this whole story up is when the creator actually apologized on Twitter for this clip. He said, and I quote, "We missed the mark here with this definition of bisexuality versus pansexuality. My fellow creators and I sincerely apologize for making people feel misrepresented. Anytime we try to define something as complex as human sexuality, it's super challenging, and this time we could have done better. Thank you for the trans, pan, and bi communities for further opening our eyes to these important and complicated issues of representation. We are listening, and we look forward to delving into all of this in future seasons." So in the end, Andrew Goldberg apologized. He admitted that this clip was wrong. He's being the bigger man in this situation and admitting his own fault as opposed to trying to fight it or stay silent, and for that I have respect for him. But the fact that he admitted how challenging it was to represent this stuff makes me question why they did it at all. I don't understand why they even included this clip. What were they trying to do? The LGBTQ community does not need a messenger in the form of a Netflix animated show to explain people how sexuality works. They clearly weren't making fun of it. I don't understand. The scariest part is that he says he's going to delve into it in further seasons, which I just hope they don't. I hope they leave this as is and just try to bury the hatchet and move on. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Big Mouth Season 3 is currently streaming on Netflix, no problem. So if you want to watch the season, you can. If you don't, I understand. And as always, I want to know what you guys think about all of this. Did you see this clip? Were you offended? Do you think people got too offended? Let us know in those comments down below, or tweet to us at Roundtable Vids, or me at itsrichdnemo. As always, if you want to consider helping out the Roundtable, you can support us on Patreon or become a member of the channel and get exclusive access to scripts and avatars. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, share it, and subscribe to the Roundtable for more incredible cartoon content, guys. As always, I'm Nemo. This is a Cartoon News video, and I will see you next time. Peace.